Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise on complex topics and give you the clear insights you need. Today, we're really digging into something big, a potential major shift in U.S. immigration policy, specifically for high net worth individuals. It's all about an executive order from President Trump, issued September 19th, 2025, setting up what people are calling the gold card.
That's right. And if you strip away the legal talk, this EO basically creates a faster, more direct path to getting a U.S. green card, permanent residency. But it's targeted very specifically at, successful business people, investors, entrepreneurs. And the key part, it involves a pretty substantial financial contribution up front, directly to the government.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that. But before we even get to the mechanism, the money side of it, we really need to look at the why. Section 1 of the order gives a very specific reason, a context for why they felt this was needed.
Yes, and the language there is, well, it's quite direct. It reflects the administration's goals quite clearly. They state the program's necessary to, and this is a quote, undo the disastrous immigration policies of the prior administration.
Policies they felt didn't prioritize the national interests.
Exactly. They argue those policies prioritized admission without enough focus on security or national benefit.
And the EO gets specific about the problems they saw, doesn't it? It mentions a deluge of immigrants entering illegally, impacting public safety, national security.
And the rule of law. They also point fingers at, exploitation by cartels and foreign actors taking advantage of what they term open border policies.
It's a strong set of claims. They also mention the impact on cities, right? Saying the asylum process was abused, forcing local governments into emergencies.
Yes, exactly. That the strain on social services and finances in some areas became unmanageable due to, what they describe as abuse of the system.
So that really sets the stage politically. The message seems to be stop the illegal flow, but also actively promote entry for people who will, quote, affirmatively benefit the nation.
Precisely. It's a pivot. They're explicitly saying that future policy, especially for permanent status, needs to focus on individuals who can demonstrably help the U.S. economy. Think entrepreneurs, investors.
People who bring capital or create jobs.
Right. That's the clear priority emerging here.
Okay, so if that's the rationale, prioritizing economic contribution, let's get into the what. What is this gold card, practically speaking? You said it's not a new visa type itself.
Correct. It's not like a new card you carry. It's better understood as a set of procedures, a regulatory fast track. It's designed to facilitate the entry of aliens based on them making a significant financial gift to the nation.
A gift. Interesting term. And who manages this? Usually immigration falls under Homeland Security or State Department.
Right, and that's one of the most fascinating parts. This program is primarily overseen by the Secretary of Commerce.
Commerce, that seems unusual for an immigration pathway. Why commerce?
Well, that appears to be a key part of the EO's legal architecture. The requirement is for an unrestricted gift to the Department of Commerce. And they're grounding this in existing law, 15 U.S.C. 1522, which already lets the Commerce Secretary accept gifts to, promote U.S. business and industry.
Okay. So they're using an existing commerce authority to sort of anchor this new immigration process. Avoids having to create entirely new visa legislation, maybe.
That seems like a very plausible strategy, yes. It streamlines the implementation using existing statutory tools.
Clever. Okay, now the part everyone's probably wondering about, the money. The significant financial gift. What are we talking about dollar-wise?
The EO lays out two clear tiers. For an individual applicant, maybe an entrepreneur wanting to move here and start a business, the gift required is $1 million US.
$1 million. And what if it's a company bringing someone over, like an executive?
Then the price doubles. If a corporation or a similar entity is sponsoring someone, the required gift amount is $2 million.
Wow. 1 or 2 million. That's a serious barrier to entry, or maybe accelerator, depending on how you see it. Where does that money actually go? Does it just vanish into the Treasury's general fund?
No, and the KKO's specific about this, likely for transparency reasons. The funds don't just become general revenue. The Secretary of Commerce must deposit these gifts into a separate fund within the Treasury Department.
A dedicated fund.
Yes. And crucially, the Commerce Department is restricted to using that money only for activities that promote commerce and American industry. It has to align with their core mission, as laid out in their founding statutes.
So the applicant's money is directly earmarked for boosting the U.S. economy, not just paying for government operations generally. Okay. But how does writing that check actually, get someone a visa faster? You said it's not a new visa category.
Right. This is where the real value proposition for the applicant lies. The gift functions as powerful, legally recognized evidence. Section 2B basically instructs the State Department and Homeland Security to treat the completion of this gift as strong proof, almost conclusive proof, that the applicant already meets the tough requirements for some very desirable existing immigrant visa types.
Which types? Because getting those high-skilled visas can be incredibly complex and take years, right?
Absolutely. These are typically the ones with high bars. The gift serves as strong evidence for three key things. First, that the applicant possesses what's called exceptional business ability.
Okay.
Second, that their admission would provide a significant national benefit to the United States, particularly economically. And third, and this is arguably the biggest one, it's evidence that they qualify for a national interest waiver, or NIW.
The NIW. Okay, break that down for us. Why is getting that waiver such a big deal, and what does it normally take?
So normally, getting a national interest waiver is a major hurdle. It means asking the government to waive the standard requirement that you have a specific U.S. job offer lined up before you can even apply for certain green cards.
Right, the job offer is usually key.
Exactly. To get the waiver, you typically have to submit, well, mountains of documents, business plans, letters of support, evidence of past success, patents, publications, all to prove that your work, your skills, your presence here is so valuable to the U.S. nationally that they should basically skip the job offer step and fast-track you. It's very subjective, takes ages, and lots of people get denied.
So the $1 million, it doesn't buy the visa itself, but it buys you out of that really difficult, subjective NIW application process.
That's a great way to put it, yes. The gold card gift becomes essentially legally defined, concrete proof of that national interest. It's like saying, my contribution of $1 million directly to promote U.S. commerce is the proof. So the agencies can then largely bypass that lengthy, uncertain review of whether your future potential warrants the waiver. It's like an express lane pass.
The perfect analogy, an express lane pass for the toughest part of the process, because the financial commitment itself proves you're considered an asset.
Okay, let's talk logistics. This is a huge policy change. How quickly does this have to happen?
The timeline is, well, incredibly ambitious. It really signals the administration's determination here. Section 3 gives the Secretaries of Commerce, State, and Homeland Security just 90 days from the date of the order, September 19th, 2025, to get the whole program up and running.
90 days for three huge federal departments to coordinate all the rules, application forms, how they'll handle the expedited adjudication, issuing visas, adjusting status for people already here. That sounds almost impossible.
It's a monumental task, bureaucratically speaking. They have to figure out exactly how these applications jump the queue, how the gift is officially recorded, and specify the exact date when Commerce can actually start accepting the money. It's a sprint.
And there was something interesting about the corporate sponsorships too, right? Something about that $2 million gift being flexible. Yes, this transferability aspect in Section 3C is potentially very significant for companies. Basically, if a corporation pays the $2 million to sponsor, say, a top executive, and then that person later leaves the company or gives up their residency.
The company doesn't just lose that investment.
Correct. The corporation retains the eligibility that came with that initial gift. They can essentially transfer the gold card fast track, benefit the evidentiary value of that $2 million to another qualified employee they want to sponsor later.
Whoa, so the $2 million buys the company a reusable slot almost, an asset for bringing in top talent.
In essence, yes. It becomes a reusable corporate asset for expedited immigration sponsorship, assuming the new candidate still meets all the other standard requirements, like security checks. The company keeps the benefit alive.
That's a massive potential advantage for multinational companies trying to move key people.
Absolutely. And the EDO also mentions practical things, like setting up administrative fees to cover the costs of this expedited processing, and also maintenance or transfer fees specifically for those corporate sponsors using the transfer option.
Makes sense. And finally, there was a hint about maybe expanding this later.
There was. Section 3.5 explicitly states the administration is looking into potentially extending the gold card mechanism to applicants under the existing EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program.
Ah, the EB-5. That already involves investment for a green card, right?
Exactly. So layering the gold card's expedited process and perhaps its NIW waiver effect onto the EB-5 framework could make that path even faster and more attractive for wealthy investors looking for U.S. residency through capital investment.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this for everyone listening. The bottom line seems to be the Gold Card Initiative creates a new, very fast pathway to high-priority U.S. immigration status, but it hinges almost entirely on making a large upfront financial contribution that's specifically used to boost American commerce.
That's the core of it. But it's also crucial to remember the limitations mentioned in Section 5. The EO itself states clearly that this order doesn't create any new enforceable right or benefit against the government.
Meaning you can't sue if you pay and still get denied for some other reason.
Precisely. And maybe more importantly, the implementation still has to follow existing laws, including the annual caps on the total number of visas allowed in these categories. So it's an express lane, yes, but the total number of lanes on the highway hasn't necessarily increased. It speeds up consideration for those who pay, but it doesn't guarantee approval or bypass numerical limits.
That's a really important distinction. Expedited consideration, not a guaranteed green card. So this EO sets a very clear, very high price for getting your application moved to the front of the line in these valuable visa categories. Which brings us to maybe the final thought for you to consider. If economic contribution, measured in millions of dollars, becomes such a dominant factor, such a clear metric for beneficial immigration, what does that signal about the value placed on other forms of contribution?
Yeah, what happens to the focus on, say, specific skills desperately needed, or family reunification, or even humanitarian cases?
Exactly. When national interest gets defined so explicitly through this kind of financial lens, what might the ripple effects be on the rest of the immigration system, and maybe even on how we think about who benefits America?
That redefinition, or perhaps clarification, of national interest in such stark financial terms is definitely the big question hanging over this policy. Something to watch very closely as that 90-day clock keeps ticking.
Indeed. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.